The Law and Justice Party, both Conservative and Eurosceptic, have won Poland's parliamentary elections. The party's leader, Jaroslaw and the future Prime Minister, Beata Szydło, have completed the country's swing to the right of centre, with their victory coming just months after Law and Justice Party candidate Andrzej Duda was voted in as Poland's sixth president. The country is expected to have, for the first time since democracy was restored in 1989, a one-party government. The Conservative group have appealed in particular to voters in poorer rural areas who feel left out by Poland's robust economic growth, with promises of lower taxes, changes to the retirement age and an increase in benefits for families. It's a heavy supporter of the Catholic Church, with a ban on abortion and in vitro fertilisation among its policies. On the international front, the refugee crisis has played an important role in the election campaign. Warsaw has agreed to accept around 7,000 people. However, party leader Kaczynski believes that Muslims are a threat to Poland's Catholic way of life. The party is distrustful of the EU and is against joining the Eurozone anytime soon. It also believes a strong NATO is essential in order to deal with the perceived threat from Moscow. The future Prime Minister has said that they need to emphasise the importance of Poland as a country that defends the interests of its citizens. Defending the country's interests may reopen a turbulent period with its European allies, as was the case with Germany between 2005 and 2007. Back then, the Kaczynski twins were in power together, and they demonstrated their support for the United States. Despite the Law and Justice Party's Eurosceptic stance, the vast majority of Poles were in favour of European Union membership in a recent poll. The centre-right has won a surprising victory in Sunday's parliamentary elections in Poland. The Law and Justice Party will be able to form a government alone. In order to better understand what this means for the country and Europe, we hear from Dominika Kosic, a journalist based in Brussels. Could you explain how the Law and Justice Party managed to win the elections?
First, we shouldn't be scared. We have to give the party a chance. They won for more than one reason. Polish voters were tired of the civic platform government. Even Donald Tusk admitted, during a meeting with Polish journalists, that it was time for a change. The result can also be explained by the ballots from a new generation of voters. 10 years ago, it was believed that Law and Justice voters were elderly people who didn't have a university education and were from rural areas. They weren't young people or graduates from the major cities. Internet users voted for Civic Platform. Now we're seeing a change. The Law and Justice Party had significant support from younger people with a good level of education.
Should we expect to see big changes in Poland's foreign policy, for example in relation to the refugee crisis, Russia and Ukraine?
Starting with Ukraine, I don't think Poland is going to change its policy too much. Warsaw may demonstrate even more support for a democratic and sovereign Ukraine. With regard to Russia, relations between Moscow and Warsaw had improved, but they've deteriorated over the past year and a half due to the war in Ukraine and the annexation of Crimea. The new government will have to face these issues. Russia is a difficult partner. Some politicians in Europe are going to be wondering how relations with Germany will fare. In recent weeks, Berlin has committed a grave error with the Nord Stream 2 project, which threatens Poland's energy security. The new government will have to deal with this project, which has the support of Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Projekt Nord Stream 2, który uderza w bezpieczeństwo energetyczne polskie. Jest to projekt, z którym sympatyzuje sama pani
And the refugee crisis. The new government probably won't want to renegotiate with Brussels over the 7,000 refugees the country has agreed to take in.
Jeżeli chodzi o podejście do kwestii
The only problem may be the decision to accommodate greater numbers of people.
zawetuje porozumienie z
The
Brukselą.
government will instead focus on the necessity to strengthen Frontex and the external borders of the EU.
Przyjmie. Problem może być oczywiście w przypadku dalszych alokacji. Tutaj myślę, że polski rząd będzie stawiał bardziej na kwestię obrony granic zewnętrznych Unii Europejskiej i wzmocnienie agencji Frontex.
What are the government's major challenges?
Rząd
The Law and Justice Party has made many promises, such as lowering the retirement age and introducing a social welfare allowance for each child, in an attempt to reverse the current demographic trends in Poland.
demograficznym w Polsce najlepsze.
Thank you, Dominika Kosic, a Polish journalist based in Brussels.
Korespondentką polskich mediów w Brukseli.
Bardzo dziękuję.